Alright, I'm gonna apologize in advance for like the raw style of this video. Normally I would do a lot more editing, but I really am really wanting to get this out, especially because I've gotten a lot of comments that I'll post on the screen about how to play this game, how to do some basic functions. Just as a little background, when I started out, I found this game in 2015, I believe. I had to do some digging on the internet and go online and do a bunch of searching just to figure out the basic controls, the functions, the super moves, everything. And my goal is to take the amalgamation of that knowledge and a guide I found from SU_Ghost on Twitter, or X now as it's called. I've gotten permission from him to go ahead and make a video on this. So I'm going to make a series of videos, split up one big video into smaller videos on basically how to play this game. Any game that you play has to deal with movement. So we're going to start off on how to move in this game properly. Now this is kind of like Soul Calibur in the fact that you can move in 8 different directions. And they're like, oh, what does that mean? Well, so you've got forward, backward, lateral this way, lateral that way, and then you've got your diagonal. You see how I'm closing in that way? Coming out back this way, and then here. We don't go very fast in this game. And even if I'm tapping, if you see that, that's ta-ta, right? I'm not going anywhere, okay? So this game is less about trying to, crouch or jump or, dash. There's none of that in this game at all. This is about, you move very slow, you move very calculated, and you're just looking to close the gap and cut off the stage from you and your opponent. So it's going to require a lot more patience than other games. You can't just, let's say I throw a combo here, I've got to stick in the pocket for a little bit. Or if I'm going to back up, I've got to have some defensive options to come out. So because of that, I'm going to show you guys a few defensive options. Alright, to start out, we're going to go with the basic guard, a staple of any game. This game has a guard button, and if you've played the Budokai series, it's X. You have a high guard and a low guard. You can also guard just by being stationary. So if you just let go of your controller, you will auto guard. Now that's not completely effective. There's different aspects and mechanics of the game why that's not the way to go, but just like in Tekken, if you let go of the buttons completely, you will guard yourself. Now, look to the left of the screen, you'll see the input, that's G, that's X in my case. You can change it to your preference if you can read that. I'm working on making sure this is available for everyone to read. X is your guard. This is your regular standard high guard, okay? You see I pressed up, nothing happened. This is high, okay? Down while you're holding guard is your low guard. So that way if you're getting kicked in the legs, if you're getting, punched in the stomach, you can guard that and you're not going to completely nullify the damage, but you will dull the damage significantly. Now, here's the kicker. Kind of like in MK1, even though it was released way later than this game came out in 07. If you're guarding high, and you're committed to guarding high, and you get hit low, you're going to take damage. It's going to break through, obviously. If you're guarding low, and someone throws something high, it's going to get through. Just imagine like any other fighting, or let's say you're playing a boxing game, right? That's going to be par for the course. Now, third defensive option here, outside of using your movement, which we will learn how to do throughout this series, but you're going to step away and then press guard. That's a sway. Now, keep in mind, once you've guarded, you can't, look at how I'm mashing back. You see how that doesn't sway? You've got to be moving away to sway. So that's number 3. Sway is good for feints, which I will show you guys how to do, and something that I learned in the guide from Ghost. It is also good for managing distance. It's a quick way to back out. So he's guarding up here and I can back out. I'm not going far, but at least I've got more of a gap than I would if I just moved. It's a quick gap, really short frame recovery, and then you can even throw up a guard afterwards, or you can keep swaying if you really wanted to. Not as effective as you think, depending on the fighting style of your opponent. There's lots of fighting styles. I'll try not to get into it or get off track here, but just think of it that way. Now, your fourth option It's going to be what I would call a universal parry. I don't know the official name for this. Once again, there's a language barrier, so if you know the official name, let me know in the comments. But this here, right? And when you time this properly, which I'll go ahead and get the CPU some movement. So you see that white cloud that popped up? We'll take that grab. That white cloud that popped up, and you see how I immediately took the advantage? That's what that move does. So again, we'll try to get it again. Try to get used to his pattern, which he's gonna bombard anyways. We'll reset the damage. You see that? That's how you know you got it. There's a white just cloud that pops up by your head. Alright, he's blitzing me, so we're gonna turn the CPU off. And once again, I apologize for the just guerrilla style. I just want to get this information out, and if we need to refine it later, we can refine it later. But this is good, and it's high risk because once again, you're leaving yourself wide open. As you guys saw, I whiffed it a few times, and he blitzed right through my guard. This is very good for taking back control momentum. So, you know, if somebody's throwing a combo and pushing you backwards, if you can, in the middle of their string, throw this out, yeah, you can throw an attack and gain back the advantage. Now, you have to be careful on the timing of this because let's say you throw it on first strike and they're throwing 3 more where you're open for the other 3 strikes. So just keep that in mind whenever you're wanting to use that defensive option. I like it for people who are very aggressive. It gives me an option to go ahead and take back a little bit of spacing from them instead. I mean, this game is very easy to get smothered and when somebody's just straight pushing you back with multiple attacks. All right, now to finish up our segment on movement, before we get into feints, there is a way that you can close the gap just a little bit faster, but your rhythm has to be different. So normally when you dash, right, if you look at the left side of my screen, you can see how fast I'm inputting that. If you want to close the gap just a little bit faster, you want to kind of give a slight pause. Now that's not, it looks goofy. I don't know that it closes it so much faster than the normal just movement of the game, so kind of useless. You can also do it diagonal. You know what I mean? So just a little helpful hint for those of you guys that like advanced movement like that. Now we'll go ahead and get into feints. Alright, we're going to call this section feints, but it all has to do with how you play your neutral. So you have to understand that this game has a variety of attacks, and those attacks have different ranges. So for example, I throw this little jab, but Tomba also steps forward pretty far. I can throw a kick. Tomba also steps forward pretty far, right? So just getting used to your range is number one, getting used to the range of your attack. So I know from about here, that's definitely going to hit, right? And I'm going to try and time it to where my opponent will either step into that, or I will be close enough to him to throw it, or if I have him cornered, I can throw it to trap him in the corner. And there's a variety of ways to trap opponents. We'll have a separate section, video, whatever, on just trapping opponents. But a good way to play your neutral is to use feints. This is something that I learned from SU_Ghost's guide that I'll post in the description. Like I said, this has all of this in there. This is my video adaptation and my interpretation of it. The first kind of feint is also a form of a fuzzy guard, right? And so it looks very stupid, and it kind of goes into what I showed you guys earlier with your guard. But while you're walking around, if you just every now and then throw this out, and all I'm doing there is holding guard, mashing down, right? So it gives your opponent a little bit of confusion on where to throw the attacks, but also if you throw it enough and they see that movement, they may think an attack's coming and either throw something out themselves or guard the wrong way. So you're looking to kind of play a little bit of chess with your opponent and make them do the wrong thing with that. So once again, hold guard here. And it looks like you're dropping your hands to throw something if you do it enough. You know what I mean? So they may think, oh, well, he's just guarding. Let their guard down, throw something out, and then now you can throw a jab. Or now you can throw a straight to the body. See? Now, once again, keep in mind that when you're doing this feint, you're having to sit still. So once again, that's our first kind of feint. Our second feint is actually a sway. So this is something that Ghost brought up in his guide, is that when you step back and sway, so if you just look at Tomba's head here, we'll zoom into it a little bit. That sway also looks a little bit like a kick. You can even see the lines. So if people are looking for visual cue of the lines and they're not quite paying attention, and let's say you're just walking around in neutral, playing neutral, okay, and I don't have him moving with me, but imagine he is, all right, playing neutral and I'm just swaying, right? Well, I come up to him, he thinks it's a sway, and he stops, and you can throw a low kick. Or really, you can throw anything by that matter. Low kick, a knee, if you're within range enough. But once you get the opponent used to this, they'll start biting on the sway. And now you've got even more aspects of your game for them to guess on. So once again, just like any other fighting game, you're going to want your opponent to guess, okay? And just remember, this is a slower game. You're going to have to be patient. You know, you can't duck attacks. You can't crouch. You're going to have to be very, very patient when you play this game as far as movement goes. But those are your two feints to use and abuse or whatever else. I don't know that this is a good one, especially because it just leaves you wide open, right? And at least with your fuzzy guard, you have a 50-50 shot of blocking an attack, right? So if you're mashing that, probably a safer option than just to throw this out. And this doesn't quite look like anything else in the game, but a sway does. As you can see, a sway does. And no, it's not a one-to-one, sure, but you can really get people to bite on that. So that's your feints for you. Alright, so that'll do it for our section on feints, movement, and basic defense. Now, I can't teach you advanced defense in this video. That's a deeper topic. We got a little bit into it with the fuzzy guard, as you see here. I think that's more of an advanced maneuver, but I think it's something that's easy to implement and that you can take on whenever you're playing arcade mode, or if you're playing with your friends over Parsec or the PC XS2 online emulator. I actually haven't tried that on this one, but that's something that we'll be looking at in the future. So once again, just remember guys, this is a slower game. You're not able to duck, crouch, you can't jump, you can't dash. You just got to be very deliberate with your movement. You got to know when to get out of situations, when to stay in situations, and that's all based off of the meters below that we'll explain in another video. But I just wanted to get the basic movement down and show you guys. You've got 8 directions. You can do a little bit of a dash, but it doesn't do you much good, looks comical. You've got your fuzzy guard. You can use a sway as a feint to throw kicks. And overall, you just wanted to cut the area off from your opponent when you play this game, or you're wanting to effectively get away from your opponent while you're recovering. And we'll talk about that as well in a survival video, I guess, to show you just basically how to survive bad situations, because you can get into a lot of them with the way this game is based. I wouldn't say it's realistic because you're taking a lot of damage that humans can't take, but in the aspect of you can target limbs and a variety of other things, this game is very deep. So we're going to break it up into as many sections as we need to, explain all those things as perfectly as possible, and get you guys to better yourselves at Garouden Breakblow, Fist or Twist. So if you liked what I provided you today, if it was valuable, if you learned something, I would appreciate if you gave me a like, and if you want to see more, definitely subscribe. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.